Sandra Chidera's finger hovered over the send button, her heart hammering against her ribs. The screenshot glowed on her phone screen. Jin-su Ming's criminal record from 12 years ago. Money laundering. Conspiracy. Association with organized crime. All of it. Her best friend Amara sat beside her on the couch, barely breathing. Are you sure you want to send that to him? Once you do, there's no taking it back. He lied to me, Amara. Sandra's voice cracked. We've been dating for 3 months, and he never told me. I had to find out from my ex, of all people. But Marcus is. I know Marcus is trash. That doesn't make this okay. Sandra stared at the message she'd typed. I know who you really are. We need to talk. Tonight. What Sandra didn't know was that at that exact moment, Jin-su was sitting in his penthouse apartment, staring at his own phone, trying to find the courage to tell her the truth himself. He'd written and deleted 17 different messages, each one attempting to explain the inexplicable. How a 19-year-old kid from Koreatown had gotten tangled up with people who solved problems with violence, and how that same kid had spent the last decade trying to become someone worthy of a woman like Sandra. His phone buzzed. Her message appeared. Jin-su closed his eyes. He was too late. To understand how it all fell apart, you need to know how it began. 3 months earlier, Sandra had been standing in her tiny studio apartment in Mid-City, phone clutched in one hand, champagne bottle in the other. She'd just closed the biggest client contract of her career. Nexus Technologies had signed with her cybersecurity consulting firm for a 6-figure annual retainer. At 28 years old, she'd finally made it. Amara is going to lose her mind, Sandra said to her empty apartment, grinning so wide her cheeks hurt. Her business partner had been pitching Nexus for 8 months. Sandra had sealed the deal in one presentation. She popped the champagne, took a swig straight from the bottle, and decided she deserved a victory photo. Nothing crazy, just something to commemorate the moment. She changed into her favorite blazer, the emerald green one that made her dark skin glow, fixed her makeup, and let her natural curls fall around her shoulders. The photo came out perfect. Professional but proud. Confident without being cocky. She typed the message. We did it. Client signed. Drinks on me tonight. She hit send to Amara. Except she didn't send it to Amara. Her phone had autocorrected to Mr. Ming, Building Investment Inquiry. A contact she'd saved 3 months ago when researching property investment opportunities for her growing business. She'd called his office once, spoken to him briefly about commercial real estate options, and never followed up. Sandra didn't notice the mistake. She set her phone down, finished the champagne, and started planning her celebration outfit. 20 minutes later, her phone buzzed. Congratulations are in order. That smile deserves champagne, not a text. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. I'll send details. Sandra stared at the message, her stomach dropping. She scrolled up. The photo she'd sent to Amara, or thought she'd sent to Amara, had gone to a complete stranger. A businessman she'd spoken to once for 10 minutes. No. She typed frantically. Wrong number. That wasn't meant for you. So sorry. 3 dots appeared immediately. I remember you, Miss Chidera. We spoke about property investments in August. I was hoping you'd reach out again. Sandra's hands shook as she typed. This was genuinely an accident. Please delete that photo. Why would I delete a photo of someone celebrating success? You should be proud. I don't even know you. You called me 3 months ago. We had a very interesting conversation about your business growth plans. I've been hoping you'd follow up. Sandra's mind raced back to August. She'd called dozens of commercial real estate contacts. She vaguely remembered a man with a deep voice, professional but warm, who'd actually seemed interested in her business model rather than just pushing properties. I appreciate that, but this was still a mistake. Have a good evening. She thought that would be the end of it. She blocked the number and called Amara. I just did something so embarrassing, Sandra said when Amara answered. What now? I sent my victory photo to a random businessman instead of you. Amara laughed. That's not that bad. What did he say? He asked me to dinner tomorrow. Ooh. Amara's tone shifted. What's his name? Jin-su Ming. He's in commercial real estate, I think. I called him months ago about investment properties. Silence on the other end. Amara? Sandra. Amara's voice had gone completely serious. Jin-su Ming? The Jin-su Ming. How many can there be? Girl, he's not just in real estate. He's one of the biggest venture capitalists in LA. His firm has funded half the startups in Koreatown. He's like stupidly wealthy. And what? There are rumors about his past. Nothing proven, but people talk. They say before he went legit, he ran with some really dangerous crowds. Sandra's blood went cold. What kind of dangerous? The kind that doesn't advertise. Look, I'm sure it's just rumors. He's been completely legitimate for years. But Sandra, you don't get that rich, that fast, that young, without some questionable origin story. After they hung up, Sandra spent 2 hours Googling Jin-su Ming. The man had almost no social media presence. His company website showed a professional headshot. Sharp features, dark eyes that seemed to look right through the camera, perfectly styled black hair with distinguished silver at the temples. He looked like he belonged in a cologne ad. The business articles painted him as a success story. Self-made millionaire by 30. Venture capital genius. Philanthropist who funded youth programs in Koreatown. But buried in the comments of a Reddit thread about LA power players, Sandra found whispers about his past. Something about organized crime. Something about why he'd left Korea at 19. Something about people who crossed him early on mysteriously facing financial ruin. This is fine, Sandra told herself, climbing into bed. I blocked him. It's over. He'll forget about it. The next morning, Sandra woke to pounding on her apartment door. She stumbled out of bed, still in her sleep shirt, and peered through the peephole. A man in an expensive black suit stood in the hallway, holding a massive bouquet of sunflowers. Miss Chidera? His voice was deep and professional. My name is David. Mr. Ming sent me. Sandra's heart stopped. She opened the door a crack, keeping the chain lock engaged. How do you know where I live? Mr. Ming asked me to deliver these. David held up the sunflowers. And to give you this. He produced an envelope. I'm not accepting anything from him. Please leave. Miss Chidera, Mr. Ming is a persistent man. He'd consider it a personal favor if you'd at least read the note. I blocked his number. David's expression didn't change. He's aware. Hence me. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like. Trust me, you'll want to see how this unfolds. Now back to Sandra's nightmare morning. Sandra took the envelope through the cracked door. David nodded politely and walked away. She locked the door, leaned against it, and opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a handwritten note in elegant script. Miss Chidera, I apologize for the unorthodox approach. Your photo yesterday reminded me of our conversation in August. You impressed me then with your business acumen and vision. You intrigue me now. The flowers are not a romantic gesture, simply an acknowledgement of your success. However, I would genuinely like to discuss potential investment opportunities for your firm over dinner. No strings, no expectations. Just business. If you're interested, my personal number is below. If not, I'll respect your decision and you'll never hear from me again. Jin-su Ming. Below the note was a phone number, different from the one she'd accidentally texted. Sandra stared at the sunflowers. They were her favorite. She'd mentioned that once in passing during their August phone call, discussing the aesthetic of a property he'd shown her virtually. He'd remembered. This is insane, Sandra muttered. But she was also a businesswoman. If Jin-su Ming wanted to discuss funding opportunities, maybe she should at least hear him out. His venture capital firm had an impeccable reputation. She'd be stupid to pass up a legitimate business connection because of one embarrassing text. She called Amara. He sent flowers to my apartment. He what? Sunflowers. With a business proposition note. Sandra, how does he know where you live? I don't know. That's what's freaking me out. Okay, don't panic. He's a venture capitalist. He probably has access to business registration databases. Your LLC lists your home address, right? Sandra's stomach settled slightly. Right. I forgot about that. See? Not creepy, just resourceful. Maybe creepy adjacent. Amara paused. What did the note say? Sandra read it aloud. That's actually pretty smooth, Amara admitted. And respectful. He's offering a business dinner, acknowledging the awkwardness, and giving you an out. So you think I should go? I think you should consider it. But Sandra, if you do, meet him somewhere public. Tell me where you'll be. And for God's sake, Google him properly this time. Sandra spent her entire lunch break researching Jin-su Ming. The deeper she dug, the more complicated the picture became. Yes, there were whispers about his past. But there were also glowing testimonials from dozens of entrepreneurs he'd funded. Articles about the youth center he'd opened in Koreatown that kept kids off the streets. Interviews where he spoke candidly about growing up in poverty and making mistakes he spent every day trying to atone for. One article from 5 years ago caught her attention. Jin-su had been interviewed by Forbes about his transition from questionable business ventures to legitimate enterprise. "I'm not going to pretend I was a good person in my 20s, he'd said. "I got involved with people who solved problems the wrong way. I enabled harm, even if I never directly caused it. Leaving that life was the hardest and best decision I ever made. Now I try to help others avoid the mistakes I made." It was honest. Brutally so. Sandra found herself respecting his transparency. She texted the new number, "Mr. Ming, thank you for the flowers. I'm willing to discuss business over dinner, but I choose the location and time. Tomorrow noon at the Griddle Cafe on Sunset. Public, casual, and non-negotiable." His response came within seconds. "Perfect. I'll see you there, Miss Chidera." The next day, Sandra arrived at the Griddle 15 minutes early, positioned herself at a window table where she could see the entrance, and texted Amara her exact location. Jin-su arrived precisely at noon. Sandra's breath caught. The photos hadn't done him justice. He was tall, probably 6'2", with the kind of presence that made people turn and stare. Despite the casual venue, he wore tailored slacks and a crisp white button-down. His face was all sharp angles and intense dark eyes that found her immediately. "Miss Chidera." He approached with an easy smile. "Thank you for agreeing to meet. Mr. Ming." Sandra kept her voice professional, her posture confident. "Let's be clear about something. This is a business lunch. Nothing more." Understood completely. He sat across from her, not beside her. Respectful distance. "Though I should admit, I'm relieved you unblocked my number long enough to text me." "I didn't unblock it. You gave me a different number." "I have several." His smile was slightly sheepish. "The one you originally texted goes to my property management team. I saw your photo because all messages get forwarded to my main account. When you blocked that number, I gave you my personal line. That's either very dedicated or very stalkerish. I prefer determined." He picked up the menu. "But I understand your concern. For what it's worth, I'm not in the habit of pursuing women who accidentally text me. You're an exception." "Why?" Jin-su set down the menu and looked at her directly. "Because when we spoke in August, you asked me questions no one asks. You wanted to know about neighborhood impact, community investment, sustainable growth. Most people just want to know about profit margins. You cared about something bigger." Sandra felt her guard lowering slightly. "I grew up in a neighborhood that got gentrified into oblivion. I don't want my success to contribute to that cycle." "Exactly. That's why I remember you." He leaned forward. "Sandra, may I be honest?" The use of her first name sent an unexpected flutter through her chest. "Please. The photo you sent wasn't sexual or inappropriate. It was victorious. You looked like someone who'd just conquered the world. That's what caught my attention. Not your appearance, though you are beautiful. Your energy." Sandra's defenses cracked a little more. "You're very smooth, Mr. Ming." "Jin-su. And I'm not being smooth, I'm being truthful." He held her gaze. "I built my career on reading people. You're ambitious, principled, and scared of me. I respect all three. I'm not scared of you." "Liar." But he smiled. "You researched my past. Found the rumors. That's smart. Most people are too polite to acknowledge the elephant in the room, so I will. Yes, I was involved in organized crime in my 20s. No, I'm not anymore. I've spent 10 years building legitimate businesses and trying to become someone my mother would be proud of. She died believing I'd end up dead or in prison. I think about that every single day." The raw honesty stunned Sandra into silence. "Now," Jin-su continued, "you can decide that past disqualifies me from your consideration, business or otherwise. I won't argue. Or you can judge me based on who I am now, what I've built, and how I treat people. Your choice." Their server appeared before Sandra could respond. They ordered, the moment passed, and the conversation shifted to business. Jin-su asked intelligent questions about her cybersecurity firm, her growth projections, her biggest challenges. He offered insights that proved he'd actually researched her company. He suggested contacts, potential partnerships, strategies she hadn't considered. By the time their food arrived, Sandra had forgotten to be nervous. "You really think we could scale to mid-market clients within 18 months?" she asked, stealing a fry from his plate without thinking. Jin-su's eyes crinkled with amusement. "With the right funding and partnerships, absolutely. You've already proven you can handle enterprise clients. Nexus Technologies isn't exactly small potatoes. How did you know about Nexus?" "I make it my business to know about promising startups in LA." He pushed his plate closer to her, offering more fries. Especially ones run by brilliant women who accidentally text me. Sandra laughed despite herself. You're never going to let me live that down, are you? Never. His smile was devastating. It's how we met. Why would I want to forget that? The lunch stretched to 2 hours. Then 3. Other customers came and went. Sandra and Jin-su stayed, talking about everything from business ethics to their favorite movies to their shared love of spicy food that made them cry. I should go, Sandra finally said, checking her phone. I have a client call in 30 minutes. Of course. Jin-su signaled for the check. Thank you for giving me a chance, Sandra. This was the best lunch I've had in years. It was pretty great, she admitted. He paid despite her protests, walked her to her car, and handed her his card. My personal cell is on there. Use it anytime, for business or otherwise. Otherwise, I'd like to see you again. He said it simply, no games. Not for business. Just because I enjoy talking to you. Sandra's heart raced. Jin-su, I don't know if that's a good idea. Why not? Because you're you, and I'm me, and this whole situation is bizarre. Bizarre can be good. He stepped closer, not touching but close enough that she could smell his cologne. I'm not asking for forever, Sandra. I'm asking for dinner. A real one this time, where we're both honest about why we're there. And why would we be there? Because there's something between us, and we both know it. His dark eyes held hers. I haven't stopped thinking about you since that photo. Not because of what you looked like, but because of what I saw in your eyes. Fire. Determination. Joy. I want to know more about the woman behind those eyes. Sandra's breath caught. Every logical part of her brain screamed to say no. He was too intense, too complicated, too dangerous. But her heart, traitorous thing, wanted to say yes. One dinner, she heard herself say. But I'm not making any promises beyond that. Jin-su's smile could have powered the city. One dinner is all I'm asking. He texted her that evening. I'm not usually nervous, but I'm nervous about tomorrow. Is that normal? Sandra smiled at her phone. Completely normal. I'm terrified. Good. That means it matters. Their first real date was at a small Korean restaurant in Koreatown that Jin-su said served the best galbi in LA. Sandra wore a simple black dress and her favorite heels. When she arrived, Jin-su was waiting outside, looking unfairly handsome in dark jeans and a blazer. You're stunning, he said, and the way he looked at her made Sandra believe it. Dinner was perfect. Jin-su ordered in fluent Korean, explaining each dish as it arrived, teaching her how to properly wrap the meat in lettuce leaves. He told her stories about growing up in Koreatown, about his mother who'd worked 3 jobs to keep him in school, about the moment he realized he'd become someone she wouldn't recognize. I was 24, Jin-su said quietly, his eyes distant. One of my associates put a gun to someone's head over a missed payment. $5,000. This man had kids. I watched it happen and did nothing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my mother, about what she'd say if she could see me. The next morning, I told my boss I was out. Just like that. Just like that. It wasn't easy. I had to give up everything I'd earned. Start over completely. But I couldn't be that person anymore. He looked at Sandra. Some people think you can't change who you are. I've spent 10 years proving them wrong. Sandra reached across the table and took his hand. I believe you. Something shifted between them in that moment. A wall came down. For the rest of the night, they talked like old friends, laughed like new lovers, connected like 2 people who'd been searching for something they didn't know they needed. Jin-su walked her to her car again, but this time when they reached it, he caught her hand. Sandra. She turned, found herself inches from him. I'm going to kiss you now, he said softly. If that's okay. That's okay, she whispered. His lips met hers, gentle at first, then deeper. Sandra melted into him, her hands finding his chest, his arms wrapping around her waist. The kiss was everything a first kiss should be. Electric, perfect, right? When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Jin-su rested his forehead against hers. I'm in trouble. Why? Because I'm falling for you, Sandra Chidera. Fast and hard and completely. That's funny, Sandra said. Because I'm having the same problem. They dated for 3 months. 3 perfect, impossible, wonderful months. Jin-su was everything Sandra never knew she wanted. Attentive without being clingy, successful without being arrogant, romantic without being cheesy. He sent her good morning texts. He remembered the names of her clients. He showed up with soup when she mentioned being tired. He never pushed for more than she was ready to give. They went to museums and movies and tiny hole-in-the-wall restaurants Jin-su knew from his childhood. He introduced her to his friends, successful entrepreneurs he'd funded, all of whom clearly respected and admired him. Sandra introduced him to Amara, who gave her approval with a subtle thumbs up behind Jin-su's back. Everything was perfect. Until Marcus showed up. If you're hooked on Sandra and Jin-su's story, smash that like button and leave a comment telling me what you think happens next. Marcus Chen had been Sandra's boyfriend for 2 years. 2 years of him promising to support her business dreams while secretly resenting every success. 2 years of him saying he wanted marriage while never actually proposing. 2 years that ended when Sandra finally realized she was shrinking herself to make him comfortable. She'd broken up with him 4 months before that accidental text to Jin-su. She thought she'd never see him again. She was wrong. Marcus showed up at Sandra's office on a Tuesday afternoon, 3 months into her relationship with Jin-su. Sandra was reviewing a security audit when her assistant knocked. "Sandra? There's someone here to see you. He says it's urgent." Marcus walked in before Sandra could respond, looking exactly the same. Average height, designer glasses, the condescending smile he thought was charming. "Hello, Sandra." Her blood went cold. "Marcus, what are you doing here? I wanted to see how you were doing. Heard you landed Nexus Technologies. Congratulations." He sat down uninvited. "Though I guess congratulations are in order for more than just business. I saw your Instagram. New boyfriend." Sandra's jaw tightened. She'd posted exactly one photo with Jin-su, and her account was private. "How did you see my Instagram?" "I blocked you." "Mutual friends." Marcus shrugged. "Jin-su Ming. Interesting choice. Very different from your usual type. I don't have time for this. Please leave." "Do you know who he is, Sandra? I mean, really know?" "I know everything I need to know." Marcus pulled out his phone, turned it toward her. On the screen was a news article from 12 years ago. Police investigate money laundering ring in Koreatown. Jin-su's name was mentioned in connection with the investigation, though he'd never been charged. "That's old news," Sandra said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Jin-su left that life a decade ago." "Did he?" Marcus swiped to another article. This one from 8 years ago. Former associate of organized crime, now venture capitalist. Then another. Questions remain about Ming's business origins. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I care about you, Sandra. You're dating a criminal." "You care about me?" Sandra's voice rose. "You didn't care about me when we were together. You belittled my business, dismissed my dreams, and made me feel small every single day. Now you show up months later pretending to be concerned? Get out." Marcus's expression hardened. "Fine. But don't say I didn't warn you. When this all blows up in your face, when you realize what kind of man you're sleeping with, don't come crying to me." He left, but Sandra's hands were shaking. Not because she doubted Jin-su, but because Marcus had always known exactly how to plant seeds of insecurity. She stared at the articles on her computer screen after Marcus emailed them to her. Everything Jin-su had told her was there in black and white, along with speculation and rumors he'd never mentioned. She called Amara. "Marcus just showed up at my office." "What? Why?" "To tell me about Jin-su's past. To show me articles. To make me doubt everything." "Sandra, you already knew about Jin-su's past." "I know. But seeing it all laid out like that, seeing how involved he really was, it's different than him just telling me he made mistakes." "Do you trust Jin-su?" The question hung in the air. Did she? She'd known him 3 months. He'd been nothing but honest, kind, and present. But 3 months wasn't that long. What if there was more he hadn't told her? "I don't know anymore," Sandra whispered. That night, Sandra couldn't sleep. She lay in bed scrolling through every article Marcus had sent, falling down a rabbit hole of internet speculation about Jin-su's past. By 3 a.m, she'd found Reddit threads, old forum posts, even a conspiracy blog claiming Jin-su was still secretly involved in organized crime. Most of it was clearly nonsense. But some of it raised questions she couldn't ignore. How exactly had Jin-su made his initial fortune to start his venture capital firm? Who were his early investors? Why had several of his former associates ended up in prison while he remained untouched? Sandra made a decision. She screenshotted Jin-su's criminal record from one of the articles, typed out a message, and stared at her phone screen, finger hovering over send. Which brought her back to where the story began. Sitting on her couch with Amara, about to confront the man she was falling for with the secrets of his past. Sandra hit send. Jin-su's response came 15 minutes later. My apartment. Please. Let me explain everything. I have to go, Sandra told Amara. Are you sure that's safe? If he wanted to hurt me, he would have done it by now. Sandra grabbed her keys. I need to hear this from him. Jin-su's penthouse was in a building Sandra had never visited. He'd always come to her place or met her at restaurants. As the elevator climbed to the top floor, Sandra's heart hammered against her ribs. What if this was a mistake? What if Marcus was right? The elevator doors opened directly into Jin-su's apartment. He was standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown LA, his back to her. His shoulders were tense, his hands shoved in his pockets. Thank you for coming, he said without turning around. Jin-su. He finally faced her, and Sandra's breath caught. He looked devastated. Eyes red-rimmed like he'd been crying. Hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it for hours. I was going to tell you, he said. I've been trying to tell you for weeks. I just didn't know how. So you thought lying by omission was better? I didn't lie. I told you about my past. You told me the cleaned-up version. Sandra held up her phone with the screenshot. You said you were involved in organized crime. You didn't say you were investigated for money laundering. You didn't say you were connected to people who are serving 20-year sentences. You didn't say there are entire forums dedicated to speculating whether you're still involved. Jin-su flinched. The investigation found nothing because there was nothing to find. I kept books, Sandra. I moved money around. I never knew where it came from or where it was going. I was 19, stupid, and desperate for money to help my mother. When I realized what I was actually involved in, I walked away. And your associates? The ones in prison. Made different choices than I did. Stayed in too long, got in too deep. He stepped closer. Sandra, I'm not going to defend what I did back then. It was wrong. All of it. But I've spent 10 years building a legitimate life. Every business I own has been audited by the IRS. Every investment is documented. Every penny is accounted for. Then why are there still rumors? Because people don't like success stories that include redemption. Jin-su's voice cracked. They want me to still be the villain. It makes them feel better about their own choices. But I'm not that person anymore, Sandra. I haven't been for a very long time. Sandra wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. But doubt was a poison that spread fast. How do I know that? She asked, tears streaming down her face. How do I know you're telling me everything? How do I know Marcus won't show up next week with more articles, more evidence, more reasons I should run? You don't. Jin-su closed the distance between them, his hands gently cupping her face. You have to trust me. And I know that's asking a lot after 3 months. But Sandra, I am in love with you. Completely, terrifyingly in love with you. And I will spend every day for the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of that love. Jin-su. Sandra's voice broke. I know who sent you those articles. Your ex, Marcus Chin. He's been digging into my past for weeks. I had my security team looking into the data breach on your company's cloud storage. It's him, Sandra. He's been monitoring your digital activity. Sandra's blood ran cold. What? He installed tracking software on your devices. Probably when you were still together. He's been watching your emails, your texts, everything. That's how he knew about us. That's how he knew exactly what to show you to make you doubt me. That's illegal. Very. Jin-su pulled out his phone, showed her a report from his cybersecurity team. I have evidence. Enough to have him prosecuted. I was going to tell you tomorrow, but then you sent that message. Sandra stared at the report, her mind reeling. Marcus had been spying on her for months. Reading her private conversations. Tracking her location. Watching her fall in love with Jin-su and planning exactly how to destroy it. I'm going to be sick, she whispered. Jin-su guided her to his couch, got her water, sat beside her while she processed. When Sandra finally looked up, she found him watching her with such tenderness it made her chest ache. What do we do? She asked. That depends on what you want to do. Jin-su took her hand. I can have my lawyers handle Marcus legally. Or we can go to the police. Or you can ask me to back off and handle it however you want. This is your choice, Sandra. I won't make it for you. What would you do? If I wasn't involved? Jin-su's jaw tightened. 10 years ago, I would have handled it my way. Now I handle things legally. Even when every instinct tells me to do otherwise. Because of me? Because of who I'm trying to be. You just make that choice easier. He squeezed her hand. I meant what I said, Sandra. I love you. And I will never, ever do anything to put you in danger or compromise who you are. That includes reverting to the man I used to be. Sandra looked into those dark, intense eyes and saw the truth. Jin-su had changed. He was still changing. And he was choosing to be better every single day. I love you too, she whispered. Even though you terrify me. Even though this is the most complicated relationship I've ever been in. Even though I barely know what I'm doing. Jin-su pulled her into his arms, and Sandra finally let herself break down. She cried for the violation of Marcus's spying, for the fear of Jin-su's past, for the overwhelming confusion of loving someone so intensely after such a short time. We'll figure it out, Jin-su murmured against her hair. Together. I promise. They filed a police report the next morning. Jin-su's cybersecurity team provided all the evidence of Marcus's illegal surveillance. The police took it seriously, especially when they discovered Marcus had been selling Sandra's client data to competitors. He wasn't just stalking his ex-girlfriend. He was committing corporate espionage. Marcus was arrested 3 days later. When the detective called to update Sandra, she was at Jin-su's apartment. They'd barely been apart since their confrontation, both of them needing the reassurance of the other's presence. We found evidence of multiple victims, the detective said. Your ex has been doing this for years. You coming forward opened up an entire investigation. After she hung up, Sandra turned to Jin-su. He was doing this to other women? Apparently. Jin-su wrapped his arms around her from behind. You stopped him, Sandra, by trusting me enough to let me help. I almost didn't. She leaned back against him. I almost let Marcus win. But you didn't. You chose to trust. That takes more courage than running. Over the next few weeks, Sandra watched Jin-su navigate the legal process with a patience that impressed her. When Marcus's lawyer tried to make a deal by threatening to expose Jin-su's past in court, Jin-su didn't flinch. He authorized his legal team to release everything publicly, every detail of his past, every mistake, every regret. I'm not hiding anymore, he told Sandra. Let them see who I was. I know who I am now. The media had a field day for about 48 hours. Then it died down. Turns out most people didn't care about decade-old rumors when there was no current evidence of wrongdoing. Jin-su's business partners stood by him. His investors released statements of support. The entrepreneurs he'd funded vouched for his character. Marcus, meanwhile, faced multiple felony charges. His legal troubles were just beginning. 6 months after the confrontation, Sandra and Jin-su were having dinner at the same Korean restaurant where they'd had their first date. Sandra had just finished telling him about landing another major client, her firm now expanding faster than she'd ever imagined. I'm proud of you, Jin-su said, stealing a piece of meat from her plate. Though I take absolutely no credit for your success. You take some credit. Sandra smiled. You introduced me to half my current clients. I made introductions. You sealed the deals. He reached across the table, took her hand. Sandra, I need to ask you something. Her heart stuttered. Okay, move in with me. What? I know it's fast. I know we've only been together 9 months. But I hate the nights you're not here. I hate waking up without you. I want to build a life with you. And I want to start now. Jin-su's eyes were intense, vulnerable. I'm not asking for forever yet, though I want that too. I'm asking for now, for tomorrow, for every day we can have together. Sandra's eyes filled with tears. Jin-su, you don't have to answer right now. Yes. He blinked. Yes. Yes, I'll move in with you. Yes, I want to build a life together. Yes to all of it. Sandra laughed through her tears. You're right, it's fast. It's crazy. But I've never been more sure of anything. Jin-su stood, pulled her up, and kissed her right there in the middle of the restaurant. Other diners started clapping. Sandra laughed against his lips, happier than she'd ever been. They moved her stuff the following weekend. Amara helped, making jokes about how Sandra was really committing to the reformed bad boy fantasy. He's not reformed, Sandra corrected, hanging her clothes in Jin-su's massive closet. He's evolved. There's a difference. Look at you, all wise and in love. Amara hugged her. I'm happy for you, Sandra. For real. He's good for you. He's everything for me, Sandra admitted softly. Living with Jin-su was easier than Sandra expected. They fell into routines, morning coffee together before work, cooking dinner while discussing their days, falling asleep tangled in each other. Jin-su gave her space when she needed it, pulled her close when she didn't realize she needed it, made her laugh when work stressed her out. But the real test came 3 months after she moved in, when Jin-su had to testify in a federal case against one of his former associates. The prosecution needed his testimony about the organizational structure of the crime ring he'd been part of 15 years ago. I have to do this, Jin-su told Sandra the night before court. It's the right thing. I know. Sandra held his hand. But you're scared. Terrified. These people don't forget. Even after all this time, testifying makes me a target. Then we'll increase security. We'll be careful. But Jin-su, you said you wanted to be better. This is part of that. He looked at her with such love it made her ache. How did I get so lucky? Wrong number, remember? She smiled. Best mistake I ever made. Jin-su testified the next day. His testimony was detailed, honest, and devastating to the defense. By the end of it, 3 more defendants took plea deals. The prosecutor thanked him personally. That night, as they lay in bed, Jin-su pulled Sandra close. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. Sandra's heart clenched. Okay. When I was 24 and decided to leave that life, I had to burn every bridge. I gave up money, connections, friendships. I started over with almost nothing. It took me 3 years to build enough legitimate capital to start my first real business venture. 3 years of working 80-hour weeks, living in a studio apartment, eating ramen, proving to people I was serious. He paused. I never told you that part. Why not? Because I wanted you to see me as successful, not struggling. But Sandra, the truth is I'm still scared sometimes. Scared that I'll fail. Scared that my past will catch up with me. Scared that I'll lose you. Sandra rolled to face him. Jin-su Ming, you listen to me. You are the strongest, most principled, most incredible man I've ever met. Not because you're successful, but because you chose to be better when it would have been easier to stay the same. I'm not going anywhere. Promise. Promise. She kissed him softly. We're in this together. All of it. The good, the bad, and the terrifying federal testimony. Jin-su laughed, the tension finally breaking. I love you so much. I love you more. Impossible. They lay there in the darkness, wrapped around each other, and Sandra thought about the chain of events that had led them here. One accidental text. One embarrassing photo. One decision to trust instead of run. Before I continue with the ending, drop a comment and tell me, would you have given Jin-su a chance after learning about his past? Hit like if you're team Jin-su and Sandra. 1 year after Sandra moved in, Jin-su took her back to the Griddle, the cafe where they'd had their first business lunch. Why are we here? Sandra asked, sliding into the same booth they'd sat in before. Anniversary of sorts. Jin-su smiled. This is where I knew. Knew what? That I was going to marry you someday. Sandra's breath caught. Jin-su. He reached across the table, took both her hands. Sandra Chidera, you changed my life. Not just by accidentally texting me, though that was the catalyst. You changed my life by seeing who I really was, by choosing to trust me when you had every reason not to, by loving me despite my past, and because of my present. Jin-su, what are you? He slid out of the booth, got down on one knee right there in the middle of the cafe, and pulled out a small velvet box. Sandra's hands flew to her mouth, tears already streaming. I'm not perfect, Jin-su continued. I have a complicated past and probably a complicated future. But I promise you, Sandra, I will spend every single day trying to be the man you deserve. I will protect you, cherish you, support your dreams, and love you with everything I have. He opened the box, revealing a stunning emerald ring. Marry me. Build this crazy, beautiful, unexpected life with me. Yes. Sandra was crying so hard she could barely speak. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Jin-su slid the ring on her finger, stood, and pulled her into a kiss that made the entire cafe erupt in applause. Sandra laughed against his lips, her heart so full she thought it might burst. Emerald? She asked, looking at the ring. The color of the blazer you were wearing in that photo. The one that started everything. Jin-su smiled. I wanted you to remember that sometimes the best things in life come from mistakes. 6 months later, they got married on a beach in Malibu. It was small, intimate, just close friends and family. Amara was Sandra's maid of honor, crying through the entire ceremony. Jin-su's best man was David, the assistant who'd delivered those first sunflowers, now a close friend and the CFO of Jin-su's company. As they exchanged vows, Sandra looked into Jin-su's eyes and saw their entire future. Building businesses together, supporting each other's dreams, maybe kids someday, definitely arguments about who got the last piece of galbi, absolutely growing old together. I promise to love you on the good days and the hard days, Sandra said, her voice steady and sure. I promise to trust you even when I'm scared. I promise to be your partner in all things. And I promise to never, ever regret that accidental text message. Jin-su laughed, tears running down his face. I promise to be worthy of your love every single day. I promise to be the man you believe I can be. I promise to support your dreams as fiercely as you support mine. And I promise that I will thank that accidental text message every day for the rest of my life. When they kissed as husband and wife, Sandra felt something click into place. This was right. He was right. They were right. At the reception, as they had their first dance, Jin-su pulled her close. Any regrets? He murmured. Not a single one. Sandra smiled up at him. You. Only that it took an accidental text for me to meet you. I should have found you sooner. You found me exactly when you were supposed to. She rested her head on his chest. We both needed to become who we are before we could be together. Wise words, Mrs. Ming. I'm keeping Chidera professionally. I know. I love that about you. He kissed the top of her head. I love everything about you. 2 years into their marriage, Sandra's company went public. Jin-su stood beside her on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, watching her ring the opening bell. His hand never left the small of her back, his pride radiating from every pore. How does it feel? He asked as cameras flashed around them. Surreal. Sandra turned to him, her eyes shining. We did it. You did it. I just cheered from the sidelines. You did way more than that. She squeezed his hand. None of this would have been possible without you believing in me. That night, in their hotel room overlooking Manhattan, Sandra sat on the bed staring at her phone. The photo from the stock exchange was already trending. Her and Jin-su, her hand on the bell, his hand on her back, both of them grinning like they'd won the lottery. What are you thinking? Jin-su asked, coming out of the bathroom. I'm thinking about that night 4 years ago when I accidentally sent you my photo. How terrified I was. How sure I was that it was the worst thing that could happen. She looked up at him. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Jin-su sat beside her, pulled her into his arms. Me too. That photo, that one accidental moment, gave me everything I didn't know I needed. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't made that mistake? Never. Because it wasn't a mistake, Sandra. It was fate disguising itself as a wrong number. Sandra laughed, kissed him softly. You're so dramatic. I'm Korean. It's in my DNA. They fell back onto the bed, wrapped around each other, talking about their plans for the future. More business ventures. Maybe starting a family. Definitely a bigger apartment now that Sandra's company was worth millions. Whatever we do, Jin-su said softly, we do it together. Together, Sandra agreed. And as she drifted off to sleep in her husband's arms, Sandra Chidera thought about second chances and redemption and love that comes from the most unexpected places. She thought about trusting your gut, even when your brain says run. She thought about how sometimes the scariest decisions lead to the most beautiful outcomes. Most of all, she thought about that accidental text message, that moment of panic, that wrong number that turned out to be so perfectly right. Because sometimes, just sometimes, mistakes aren't mistakes at all. They're destiny wearing a disguise, waiting for you to be brave enough to say yes. And Sandra Chidera had said yes to Jin-su Ming, to trust, to love, to a future neither of them could have predicted, but both of them chose to build together. If you loved Sandra and Jin-su's journey from wrong number to forever, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss another story. Drop a comment telling me, what was your favorite moment? And give this video a like if you believe in second chances and unexpected love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.